This is Ray Williams, and you're listening to the Blvck Chalk podcast, an experience focused on empowering the new wave of influencers. And for today's very first episode, Black Bubbles and I will be discussing the Black Panther movie and what it means for the culture. Stay tuned. Yo, what's good? And welcome to the very first episode of Blvck Chalk. With me today, as always, is my boy, my brother, Black Bubbles, aka James Lowry. What's good, man?
What's up, man?
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I think, next time we should hit him with a little more yo's.
Oh, you got me? Hey, let me see.
Yo. This your boy, Black Bubbles. We in it.
Man. Well, hey, without further ado, let's jump to the very first topic that we have for the show today. It's going to be about Black Panther and what that means for the culture. Let's jump right into it. What do you think of the movie? Actually, disclaimer alert, we are going to be talking about spoilers. So if you haven't already checked out the movie, I highly suggest that you do. If you haven't, like I said, I'd suggest that you click away unless you don't mind being spoiled. There's always those people out there that really, don't really care. So if you're one of those people, continue to listen. If you're not, unfortunately, go ahead and click off of this podcast. But be sure to come right on back as soon as you see the movie at SoundCloud /BLVCK Chalk. That is Black Chalk. The first A is a V. Thank you very much. And let's jump right into it.
Woo! Almost blew that spoiler alert there.
Yeah, my bad. I'm not necessarily too keen on that spoiler alert stuff. I just be talking, and I feel that. It's a work in progress. So let's start talking about the. Okay. So if you have seen the movie, I'm assuming everyone who listened still has. You're quite familiar with Killmonger. If you haven't, Killmonger is the quote villain of the movie. He's actually T'Challa's the protagonist. He's his half cousin? He's his cousin.
Essentially.
He's his cousin, yeah. But what Jay-Z said, nobody wins when the family feuds. Yeah, this is definitely a family feud they got going on. But let's talk about the perspective of and his viewpoints, Killmonger's viewpoints, and trying to understand a little bit where he's coming from. So let's dive right back in. Let's dive right into it.
Well, I know you said quote villain, quote unquote villain, because a lot of people tend to see Killmonger as a villain, but I don't see it in that sense, only because I feel like a lot of African Americans today can identify with the character Killmonger based off of his background and his storyline.
True.
It's kind of mostly for me. It's about perspective. Like I said, everyone has their own point of view, what they feel is right or wrong, and a lot of times we got to kind of come down to earth and try to understand someone else's point of view, because we may see it as wrong, or we may see it as as evil, but at the same time. We got to kind of stop and kind of understand and try to listen to their story first. But current day, Black Panther, I think it was a great movie. I had a lot of, my head was kind of bouncing around during the whole movie, to be honest. I couldn't kind of look at it in a linear way. I kind of had a lot of mixed opinions, mixed emotions, mixed feelings. It was good in the sense of, the directors in Marvel, they kind of stepped it up in regards to, not just creating a movie that was pretty much all about action, because a lot of the Marvel movies are great, but at the same time, a few of them kind of tend to lean more and kind of be more boom Hollywood in your face action, and less about
CGI and all that kind of stuff.
And less about a good storyline. But this one, it really, they did a great job kind of creating this Wakanda idea of this part of Africa and this society where it was kind of closed off from the rest of the world, and they kind of created this space where technology was flowing and people were thriving with culture and their own unique way of implementing culture with technology, which is also pretty dope as well. I think it was just a kind of a new fresh perspective of someone's idea of what a predominantly I'd say black society would look like if
Yeah.
they had technological advances.
And piggybacking off that, Wakandians, I'm not sure if that's the right way to characterize them, but they're Wakandans, very, very, they seem to be very, very prideful people. On the flip side of that, though, they did send spies out to various different nations that did have African Americans living within them. And for me, I resonate with Killmonger's quorums and prerogative. I resonate with it because Wakanda was knowledgeable about the struggles and the trials and the tribulations that the African American, their people, went through. They were knowledgeable about that, but they decided that it was best if they didn't involve themselves. And that decision led to the enslavement. It led to the vilification, the dehumanization of their people, essentially. And Killmonger felt that they weren't doing everything within their power, which is a very, 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 wide spectrum of power to help them, which is a very, very reasonable issue to have. Now, do you think he went about it in the right way? And it is hard for me to say the right way, because is there a right way to go about something like that?
Oof.
I don't know. I don't think so.
That's touchy.
I don't think so. And one of the scenes, or one of the lines that really resonates with me the most, is when Killmonger and the Black Panther, T'Challa, were having their battle, their showdown for the crown, and Killmonger had just kind of KO'd him, or kind of knocked him down. And kind of knocked him down, and he looked to his people and he said, "Is this your king? Is this your king?" And that was kind of a motif that reoccurred throughout the entirety of the movie. T'Challa was kind of forced into the position of being a king with the unforeseen death of his father. So I don't think he was necessarily prepared to be the king in every aspect of the word. Yeah, his people loved him, but he didn't necessarily know about the skeletons in his father's closet, and he had to step into that role, and he was trying to handle it the best way that he possibly could. Now, I'm not saying that he went about it in the wrong way. I'm just saying that maybe necessarily, I don't know. I don't necessarily. It's a tough thing to dissect, because it's a very, very hard position, I'd imagine, to be in for T'Challa, and it wasn't like he didn't care. That became evident if you watch the movie. He was very, very concerned about Killmonger and his issues that he had. In fact, when Killmonger first appeared in Wakanda, the council advised T'Challa just to throw him out. Don't even listen to what he's saying. But T'Challa gave him that opportunity to voice his concerns, because he sees him as his brother and as one of his people, and that's the type of king that he is.
Very easy to turn your back on someone. That's the easiest part.
Very easy.
I think a lot of people tend to not really want to have to deal with certain issues or things that arrive, because it would force them to kind of get outside of their bubble.
But the thing is about that, that's where I'm a very growth-centric person, and to be able to grow, you have to step out of your comfort zone. That's when you're really going to experience the most growth, is when you're out of your comfort zone. You don't want to step too far out of your comfort zone, because then you'll shock yourself. But I feel like Killmonger was a great villain, quote, antagonist to be introduced in the first Black Panther film, because it really set the tone. It really allowed for the character development of T'Challa to become so evident. I felt an emotional attachment to him, not only as a black man, but because I resonated with his viewpoints, his struggles of coming to age, of stepping into the fact that he is now the king of this giant kingdom, and he's battling with the fact of whether he wants to keep the old traditions of Wakanda and keep them closed and isolated from the world, or if he wants to make a change and fill the void that he sees in the world, and that's help. He's struggling between those two decisions, and I feel like Killmonger, his role in the film, allowed for T'Challa to really grow, not only as a man but as a young king. He's always, like he said, he's always been a diplomat, so he's always been diplomatic, but I don't think he necessarily had to deal with the hardships that come with being a king until, Killmonger kind of forced it in his face, pushed it in his face.
See, and that's where perspective comes in, man.
Yeah.
It's easy to sit at the top of the, the top of the hill and be able to judge, or, tell somebody where their values should, or their ideas should be based off of your own perception, when in reality, we're all people. We're all humans, and at the end of the day, I think it's up to us to really, like I said, try to seek first to really understand each other as individuals before we, kind of place judgment.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good topic too to talk about what this movie means for the marginalized populations throughout the world, because this movie didn't just do well in the United States. This movie has done well globally, so that means something. This movie is resonating with people from different demographics for various different reasons, and I think it would be a very good idea for us to maybe try to scratch the surface, try to, I don't know, instigate a conversation around this, because this isn't something that we can necessarily cover within the 30 minutes of a lot of time that we have today. This is a conversation that's going to be ongoing for a long time, but we need to get this ball rolling, and we need to talk about issues like this, because this movie, in my eyes, it's a fire starter for the younger generation of people, because they are starting to see themselves on the screen. They are starting to see. Okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. I'm gonna be speaking about the history of the marginalized race, the marginalized group of people that I'm gonna be focusing on for the next maybe 2 minutes are gonna be the African American people, just because their history is taught a lot in school, but I don't necessarily think it's a watered down version of what the history truly is.
Yeah.
So Black history doesn't start with slavery. That is false. If you do not believe me, I highly recommend you go out there and you do your research, because Black history is so much richer than just slavery. In this movie, the reason why I feel like it resonated so much with so many people, African Americans especially, because it gave them a sense of cultural pride. They are finally proud, not finally, but they are proud to be not just Wakandian, but African. We're African Americans, and that's a whole other topic I will talk about in another day. The fact that outside of the country, if I were to travel to Europe, I'm an American, but when I'm in America, I'm an African American. That's how they try to label you. But this movie gave a sense of pride to be able to call myself African American, and I've always been proud to be a Black man. Don't get me wrong. But it's so evident in today's age, and we've come a long way since slavery, since the civil rights movement, but we still have a long ways to go. But I still find it that people who look like me are demonized, villainized, dehumanized, and I feel like a lot of them, a lot of younger brothers, sisters, they don't necessarily feel that sense of self-worth. And I think this movie did a really good job of, it's not necessarily establishing that, but harping on that. Look at.
See, I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, I realize it's a generational thing. Mm-hmm. Our parents and our parents' parents certainly experience. Their lives were certainly way different than our experiences, and our kids kids, they'll definitely have different experiences as well. But I think we're moving in the right direction as far as us trying to understand that, sure, we don't necessarily, not everything has to really be about race. Yep. And people, they'll cut my head off for that, because they're like, okay, hold on, what are you talking about now? But people really need to understand that. Like, once we get to that point of the older generation, once the older generation is gone, it's trickle down effect. And I think the more we integrate, the more we work together, the more we help build each other up, not as, not looking at each other as color, but generally lifting each other up as people and understanding, okay, the history is history. That's what happened. We have to understand that. And like I said, that goes back to, making sure that in the educational system, we really need to put all those things that are really, pivotal to African American history in the American history books, so kids don't have to, be in the dark when they get into college. And wow, there are so many people that get to college and they finally really understand Black history, and that's terrible. Like, you should have been able to understand, no matter how brutal it was, you should have been able to understand those things growing up through middle school and through high school before you even get to, like I said, quote unquote, the adult level of things. But there's a long way for us to go, and I think it's a generational thing, and the generations behind us, or they're more forthcoming and more willing to, okay, sure, the past is terrible and that was bad. this is what we're going to do to work together to build a better future. And like I said, we got a long way to go.
I agree with you, and I think that's a great segue to the next topic that we wanted to speak about, which is the impact the Black Panther is going to have on the Black culture and redefining what exactly is Black culture. So how do you think that's going to manifest itself?
So I think that, right now we're kind of going through a period of we're having a cultural identity crisis. We're trying to figure out who are we as Black people. Okay. If you go back and in time of slavery times, when we were brought over as slaves, they stripped us of our religions, cultures, our names. My last name isn't even my own last name.
Yeah,
I don't know where that's derived from.
Neither's mine. My last name is Williams. That's a slave last name. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So it's like, we're at that point now where we're trying to figure out, okay, who are we? And media has played such a large role in the development of the image of, who Black people are. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, by the masses, tend to have this general idea of who a Black person is and what type of personality they're supposed to have.
And if they don't portray that personality, then they're not quote Black, or they're too white, or they're whitewashed, or they're an Uncle Tom. Why is it like that? And that's the media or the people who control the media pitting us against each other. And
at the same time, we're totally at fault. At the same time, we always try to one, play victim, and two, we fight amongst ourselves in the Black community.
Yep. It's like crabs in a bucket, I feel like sometimes, I definitely feel like it could be a product of your environment, but I've found it so evident in the area that I grew up in that, it is necessarily, people don't want to see you win. People don't want to see you win as a community. And why is that? Is it bitterness? Is it jealousy? Like, what is that? Like, why is it so hard for Black people to get behind each other? And this movie, why I felt like it was so beautiful was because it gave us, people of color, a sense of camaraderie. We all banded together behind this movie, and we accepted it as our I don't know the right word I'm looking for, but it's helping us redefine what we are. Like you said, it's been evident in the media that we're portrayed as thugs, hoodlums, drug lords, everything but an upstanding citizen, and that is starting to change. Like more recently, that's beginning to change. But a movie like this, where it is rich in culture and in African history, it's helping us reconnect with the homeland. It's helping us reconnect with who we really are as people. It's been so long now that we've let other people define what Blackness is, that it's time for us as people of color, as marginalized people, to take the reins and define us. We need to define what Blackness is in the 21st century, and it begins with us. We can't look to the media to define who we are. We got to look to ourselves and to the people around us, the people who share the similar battles, similar trials and tribulations that we as marginalized people go through. We need to lean on each other to uplift each other instead of tearing each other down, which I feel like we're so good at doing. We're so good at tearing each other down instead of uplifting each other. And I'm baffled at where that has come from. Like, why is that a thing?
Yeah, but I'm gonna be straight up blunt right now. I'm gonna be honest. We also need to straight up stop making excuses.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yes. Because of the history, we have been put at a disadvantage. We don't have generational wealth like
credit
other
scores.
people.
That's the number one example. Credit scores.
Yeah, that's a totally different topic. But we gotta stop making excuses. Just because we were put in a less convenient situation doesn't necessarily mean we should complain and cry about our particular situations. Like, get up and get out and get your shit done.
But that brings up the topic of adversity, and I feel like as a culture, as a people, we fought through so much adversity that we are. If you look at it today, the African Americans that walk this earth have the best genes. Hear me out for a second. We've survived the transportation of slavery. We've survived slavery. We've survived the Civil War. Our ancestors, I'm talking about. We've survived all of that. We've survived the civil rights movement. We are the apex of our people right now. And I don't mean that in the sense of prey versus predator. I mean that we have fought through so much adversity that there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. I always like to look at Tiger Woods for an example of what it's like to put a black man in a situation where he feels like he has something to prove. Look at Tiger Woods. Look at Serena Williams. They are in sports that are predominantly known to be, rich, white, affluent, and they are dominating at their sport, And it's like, for instance, I look at Serena Williams, and her record versus Maria Sharapova, which is, she's regarded as one of the best tennis players in the world. She is dominating her, yet Maria Sharapova makes significantly much more money in endorsements than Serena does. Why is that?
See, there's also a gray area there, though, because you got to kind of also look at it from a business and a marketing standpoint. If you're going to live in a predominantly white society and you want to, essentially make more money by, marketing, a person, generally you're going to go with a white person.
She's Russian. She's Russian, bro. She's Russian. She's not even American. She's Russian. Yet she has a more powerful draw in this country than our own Serena Williams.
See, and that's where it's less about, actual culture and more about what you look like.
What you look like. Yep, exactly.
That's a problem.
It's a significant problem that not enough people are talking about. I don't feel like we need to get this this is a national conversation, and I understand that, race is a very touchy subject. Not a lot of people feel comfortable talking about it, but that's where you grow. When you step outside of your comfort zone, you need to have these difficult conversations in order to push through those metaphorical walls and these obstacles that are stopping us from getting to the point where we want to get to as a society. We need to have those tough conversations. I just feel like there's a lot of hesitancy to have those conversations because a lot of people in power are complacent and they're afraid to give up that power. You know what I'm saying? And it's a slippery slope. I hate using that analogy because I feel like that's a cop-out analogy, but that's what it really is. It's a very slippery slope, but I'm buckling up and I'm ready to ski. I'm ready. Let's get it.
You ain't ready to snowboard?
Nah.
I prefer that over skiing.
Nah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I gotta see it. I haven't even been either yet. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go. I gotta try one out first before I can even, jump on team snowboard, team skis. But you see the point that I'm trying to make, or at least the conversation that I'm trying to start.
Yeah.
It's much bigger than just one person.
And, dialogue doesn't always have to be comfortable. Dialogue creates a space in which you can actually kind of express your feelings in a way where you express them not to, try to make someone feel like you know more than them or your idea is better than theirs, but you express it so that you guys can both kind of, hear each other out and then try to figure out, come up with a, consensus and try to figure out, okay, understand someone's perspective and see that, okay, I see where they're coming from. And I need to first really try to understand them and see where they are. The problem is that people don't want to listen. People, it's easier to say, no, I don't want to talk about race. No, I don't want to talk about this. We keep hearing this every time we talk about it, and we always bring this up, and it always turns to this. Yes, it's like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, you should be able to speak on something without, is that not in our, constitutional rights to be able to, freedom of speech?
Freedom of speech.
Is that a thing still, or?
I don't know. You tell me. The Second Amendment is pretty big right now, but I'm pretty sure the First Amendment is just as important to the American democracy.
Yeah, man. People are too sensitive, too soft, and that's the problem.
Okay, I think that about sums up all the topics that we wanted to speak about with you guys today. Remember, like I said, this conversation does not stop with the end of this podcast. This is the conversation that will be ongoing. So with that said, go ahead and follow us on our social medias, Instagram, SoundCloud, and Twitter at Blvck Chalk, BLVCK Chalk, all one word. Remember the backslash before that so we can continue the conversation. As always, we are very eager to hear what you have to say, suggestions, comments, and let us know what you think of the podcast today. This is the very first episode, so we are very, very, very eager to hear what you guys and gals have to say. Bubbles, is there anything you want to add?
Well, next week we're probably going to talk about either cryptocurrency and the blockchain or entrepreneurship. So looking forward to that. And one last thing before we go, let people ride your wave.
Yep.
Collaboration is king, and networking is the future. So.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I can't reiterate it enough how thankful we are for your ears. And thank you for joining us on this ride. Like Bubble said, don't be afraid to let others ride your wave. And with that, I bid you farewell.